Cristian Javier is back and Josh Hader is hurt. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Tuesday, August 12th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers, and it was a successful return for Cristian Javier, who actually got off to a rocky start in this one, gave up 2 runs in the first inning, but then settled down nicely. 5 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts here. Chris, what did you see in Cristian Javier's return, and how excited are you to add him right now in fantasy?
I'm much more excited than I thought I would be. He was pretty bad on his minor league rehab assignment. His velocity had been falling across the 3 starts. And then he comes out here and he's averaging 93.5 miles per hour. That's basically where he was at in 2022 when he was at his best as a fantasy pitcher. Up 1.8 miles per hour from the last time we saw him. And threw a new sinker 14 times. 12 times. Don't necessarily know how I feel about that one, but that's worth noting. But the slider was excellent. 5 whiffs on 14 swings. He got 10 whiffs on 85 pitches. That's a solid rate. He was throwing his changeup harder with a little more or a little less drop on it. So a firmer changeup. Not sure how that's going to play, but just another different look for him. But I think all in all, fastball velocity and shape were there. The slider looked excellent. When Cristian Javier has been a must-start fantasy player, it's basically been on the strength of those 2 pitches. I think it's very unlikely he gets back to being what he was in 2022, but I'm open to the possibility of him being useful down the stretch in a way that I wasn't necessarily before this start.
How would you rank Cristian Javier, Zebby Matthews, who had another 9 strikeout performance, and Jacob Lopez, who had a great start late last week?
Yeah, I think there was a 10 strikeout start for Lopez. Zebby Matthews had 9 in this one. Look, they both have their limitations, and their limitations are probably pretty similar. They're going to give up a lot of home runs. Matthews is like almost 2 home runs per 9 over the course of his career. Even in this start, it was 3 homers, all solo shots. Lopez, I feel he's pretty iffy, pretty fringy. It's like when the ball's in the yard, he can be very good because he's pretty funky. He's got a weird delivery. He hides the ball well, but it feels like the kind of thing that is going to catch up to him and already has at parts of this season. So he's 3rd for me. I'll put Javier 2nd. Zebby Matthews is 1st, and I think by a pretty decent margin because he's a really good strikeout pitcher. He's up to about 29% this season, 26% for his career. He's got very good control. You put it all together, K- walk rate is 21.2%. That would be the 6th best in baseball, just behind Joe Ryan. And I actually think that's a pretty good comp for what a good version of Zebby Matthews looks like because Joe Ryan, remember, 2023, he 1.8 home runs per 9, had a 4.50-something ERA. A lot of things went wrong for him there, but he's turned it around just by being a regular bad home run pitcher. And that's the hope with Zebby Matthews, that he can go from, some of the worst quality of contact metrics in baseball through the first 2 seasons of his career, giving up a lot of home runs, a lot of hard contact. If he just gets a little bit better at that, if he's just normal bad instead of worst in the league, you're probably talking about a must-start pitcher because of the strikeouts, because of the very good walk rate. So I think I want to bet on Zebby Matthews' skill set and his ability to figure it out.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll talk about Josh Hader's injury right after this. Welcome back in to FBT Express. So Josh Hader was bypassed for a save on Monday night, and then it turns out afterwards we find out he's dealing with with left shoulder soreness. And Hader last pitched on Friday. He threw 36 pitches over 2 innings. He's thrown 32-plus pitches in an outing 3 times since July 8th. So they have been throwing a pretty big workload here at Josh Hader. Lefty Bennett Sousa picked up the final out in his 4th save of the season here on Monday night. That was because Brian Abreu was unavailable. He recorded 5 outs on Sunday. So if anything happens to Hader, if he has to go on the IL, which it kind of sounds like that might happen, Brian Abreu is next up, we think, and he's only 28% rostered, Chris. So that could turn out to be a priority ad if you need saves.
Yeah, I've been wrong about who I think the closer is going to be in various situations before. It's part of what's so frustrating about trying to talk about closers for fantasy, because it's not just, hey, is this guy good? It's, hey, is this guy good? And will his manager give him the opportunity? But in this case, Brian Abreu's not just good. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's got like a 2.18 ERA over the past 4 seasons, a 35% strikeout rate in that time. He is absolutely one of the best relievers in any role in baseball. He has a little bit of closer experience. I think he had 5 saves a couple years ago. And if Josh Hader goes on the IL, I see no reason why Brian Abreu wouldn't be the closer in Houston. So that is one that we hope Josh Hader's fine. We hope it's nothing serious with his shoulder. Maybe it will be, but I think if you're in a daily transactions league, you got to add Brian Abreu just in case Josh Hader's not good, not okay, because Brian Abreu, I think, could be a top 10 closer for as long as Hader's out if that happens.
And for those who have Josh Hader on their fantasy team, again, Brian Abreu makes a lot of sense. Some shallow league replacements, names we've talked a lot about, Randy Rodriguez, Kate Smith, David Bednar. In some deeper leagues, Phil Maton looks like he's taking over as the Rangers closer. We also have Jose Ferrer of the Washington Nationals. Let's wrap up by ranking some waiver wire hitters and some young names that have emerged lately. Colson Montgomery hit his 10th home run here on Monday. We got big weekends out of Luke Keeschel, Jacob Marcy, Isaac Collins. Warming Burnable, we haven't heard much about as much recently, but Chris, how would you rank these 5 somewhat exciting hitters here? Montgomery, Keeschel, Marcy, Collins, and Warming Burnable.
So with Colson Montgomery first, I just want to say, like back when Blake Griffin, I'm dating myself here, but back when Blake Griffin was young and like still in the NBA and was a rookie, a lot of people would use like, oh, all he does is dunk as a criticism of him. And it's like, I mean, no, but like, even if that were true, if you can't stop him from dunking, that's not really a criticism, you know?
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Right now, Colson Montgomery is only hitting home runs, basically. That's not entirely true. I think he has 3 doubles and he has like 13 singles or 12 singles, but it's mostly the 10 home runs in 32 games. It's a 50 homer pace. That's driving the 876 OPS. His plate discipline's been pretty bad. The quality of contact's actually backing up the power, but he's probably not a 50 homer guy. He's probably not a 40 homer guy. If Colson Montgomery's a 30 homer guy, he's probably still fantasy relevant, but it's probably going to be a bad batting average. So I think it's going to be, you know, it could be a little iffy. So he's not, I think, a superstar, and probably more just like a fringe fantasy starter once the regression comes. So I would clearly put him behind Luke Keeschel and Jacob Marcy, who I just think have more well-rounded skill sets. They're going to steal a lot of bases in both cases. They're probably going to get on base a lot. And Keeschel has shown the ability to lift the ball to the pull side pretty consistently. So I would go Keeschel, Marcy, Colson Montgomery. The other 2 names were
Isaac Collins and Warming Burnable.
I think I would give Burnable the edge over Collins just because of Coors Field. You know, I think Burnable has an interesting skill set as a hitter, maybe not a ton of power, but a lot of contact skills. And that could play up at Coors Field with the batting average inflation that you get there. So that's the order I would go. But I think Keeschel and Jacob Marcy are clear top tier among that group.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again on Thursday. Bye-bye.